Ladies and gentlemen, Rigathi Gachagua yesterday destroyed William Ruto into pieces during his explosive interview on KTN TV. In this video, I want us to analyze that interview and pick some few things which I'm 100% sure William Ruto will not be able to recover from. Let me ask you this question. Have you heard anybody, any ally of the president, responding to Rigathi Gachagua's explosive interview so far? None of them. But first of all, let us begin the video by asking ourselves why Rigathi Gachagua requested for this interview. Because Jesse Rogers actually made it very clear at the beginning that it is Rigathi Gachagua who requested for the interview.
Just to clear the air on this interview is at the request of the former Deputy President. So, Your Excellency, thank you for your time. Looking forward to a truthful and fruitful discussion.
And of course, Rigathi Gachagua responded why he wanted the interview.
Thank you.
Welcome, Rogers, and thank you for creating time to come and talk to me so that the people of Kenya can benefit from my reply to the very ridiculous claims made by President William Ruto in Sagana State Lodge next to my house and at the foot of Mount Kenya, on the edge of Hobe Forest. And I was under a lot of pressure from supporters and people who listened to him to respond immediately.
So this was the statement which William Ruto made that forced Rigathi Gachagua to respond.
Oh, unajua, mimi naweza kukufanya one-term president. Usipofanya hii, nahitaji bilioni 10. Wewe unajua bilioni 10.
When he called me myself when we disagreed and said, I cannot work with you. I would like you to resign. And if you don't, I'll impeach you. And later on in the interview, I'll tell you why we disagreed. And he said, instead of you going home empty-handed, and since you assisted me, I would like you to go with your retirement package and I can get you some money to get you started off.
Ladies and gentlemen, if there's one mistake which William Ruto committed, I think there are two mistakes politically, was the appointment of Rigathi Gachagua as the Deputy President and the appointment of Justin Muturi as the Attorney General. Why am I saying so? Rigathi Gachagua served as a personal assistant to Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. In fact, Ruto knew Rigathi Gachagua through Uhuru Kenyatta. Rigathi Gachagua still went ahead and dumped Uhuru and dealt with him the way he did for Ruto. So what told Ruto that Rigathi Gachagua was not going to deal with him even more ruthlessly than he dealt with Uhuru Kenyatta? So that was the mistake. The second mistake was this of appointing Justin Muturi as the Attorney General. As the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, Justin Muturi has a lot of information about his government. In fact, forget about Rigathi Gachagua. The person who can easily destroy William Ruto with facts, and I'm sure he also carried his evidence, is none other than Justin Muturi. But remember, there is no Justin Muturi without Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta, after Justin Muturi failed to secure his seat, Uhuru Kenyatta went ahead and made him the speaker. Not once, but twice. He still left Uhuru Kenyatta. So what told William Ruto that Justin Muturi is also not going to leave him? So William Ruto made those big mistakes. But I want us to focus on this interview, because Rigathi Gachagua stated some things there. And for me, either Rigathi Gachagua or William Ruto will give way. One of them will have to give way. Either William Ruto will leave or Rigathi Gachagua is going to leave. And when I talk of leaving, I mean one of them will have to go to the Creator. One of them. Because at this rate, one of them will have to give way for the other to thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into those explosive parts of that interview, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, allow me to dive in. But again, a huge shout out to our today's sponsor, Carotex Computers. If you are looking for a reliable and quality computers and accessories, then Carotex Computers is the place to go. They offer both brand new and refurbished laptops, desktops, tablets, and a variety of accessories. They are located at Nairobi Bazaar Plaza along Moi Avenue, first floor, showroom number 7. They deliver nationwide, and of course, because of that, you can easily place your order through their website, which is pinned in the comment below. Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin by looking at the offer. Because Rigathi Gachagua was responding to William Ruto, the offer of 10 billion, which he said that did not happen. But according to Rigathi Gachagua, William Ruto offered him some 2 billion Kenyan shillings. And I have a problem with Rigathi Gachagua because we were all alive when Rigathi Gachagua was submitting his nomination papers, when he faced interview with Martha Karua, and Rigathi Gachagua told Kenyans how much he was valued. But Rigathi Gachagua is now telling us that even William Ruto knows that 2 billion is not a problem for him.
And let me tell you, Rogers.
But I have to ask you, because you're equally on record in public mentioning that President William Ruto offered you 2 billion Kenya shillings to resign ahead of the impeachment in October.
Yes.
So isn't that a counter narrative?
No. I talked before. He talked the other day. Okay. I have not talked after he has talked.
So your claims are true?
I said he talked to me. He sent a very senior officer in government. One, he called me myself when we disagreed and said, I cannot work with you. I would like you to resign. And if you don't, I'll impeach you. And later on in the interview, I'll tell you why we disagreed. And he said, instead of you going home empty-handed, and since you assisted me, I would like you to go with your retirement package, and I can get you some money to get you started off, like 1.5, 2 billion. I told him to go to hell. I'm not interested. I'm priceless. And that kind of money, you know I have. You know how much I funded your campaign. I am not a man to be given 2 billion shillings. You know what kind of money I am into. And therefore, I said, fine. He sent a very senior officer to come and see me. On Thursday, when the National Assembly resolved that I should be impeached by going to the Senate, that Friday morning, he sent a very senior officer to come and see me. And he gave me his terms. And against my ethics, because I don't record people, I recorded that conversation, giving me that offer from the president. I have that record. Okay?
So the senior official was speaking for the president?
Yeah, he sent me. The following day.
But you know the burden of proof lies with the accuser. We need to see this.
No problem. Okay. No problem. The following day, he told the officer I should go and have a discussion with him. And I refused to go to State House. He suggested I go to his hotel, the Western Hotel. I refused. And we met somewhere along State House Road in one of the safe houses run by the National Intelligence Service. And between me, that officer, and myself, we had a discussion with the president. Again, I recorded that conversation for posterity because I know William Ruto. I put it on record. Again, he gave me that offer. I told him I'll think about it. I didn't want to have a fight with him because it was not necessary. That officer persuaded me that I should listen to the president. And because he's a man from home, he said, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, just listen to what he has to say.
Who is this officer?
No, I don't want to.
For the sake of our public, you call for an interview, you have to.
Let me explain. So I said no, I declined. The day I went to the Senate, the first day, that officer again was dispatched by the president. And I refused to see him, but after consultation with my counsels, I agreed to see him. Again, he brought me another offer. I recorded it. I am very conflicted. That officer is an innocent man. He's an emissary of the president. He is in service. If I expose him now, he will lose his job. He will be in very difficult circumstances. So on discussion with my family and lawyers, we have agreed that when he retires, and it's not very long from now, we'll be able to release that information. And I have done that because I know his family, and I don't want to jeopardize his position.
The second thing is the Sudan conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm 100% sure that the issue of Sudan conflict is a serious diplomatic issue, locally and internationally. And I'm 100% sure that the entire world is now taking a keen interest of Sudan conflict. Because remember, one of the main reasons why Raila Odinga failed to secure his chairmanship of one of the reasons Raila Odinga failed to win AU was as a result of this Sudan conflict. William Ruto was supporting the rebel group, which have now been kicked out of Sudan.
There's a rebel movement called RSF. And the leader of that group is called Hemeti, has been the vice president of Sudan. So in 2023, William Ruto called me to his office and told me that diplomatically, a president can only invite a president to visit him, and he has a friend who is a vice president and he cannot invite him. So he wanted me to invite him on his behalf.
I recall you said this.
And he had a letter.
Yes.
I signed that letter, and Hemeti came, and we met, we discussed about Kenya and Sudan, but that was not the purpose of the visit. I took him to the president. Later on, I realized they are doing business. After some time, it came clear to me that the international community had placed international sanctions against Hemeti because of genocide, killing women and children, displacing people, and no other crimes against humanity. So President William Ruto called me again and told me to invite Hemeti again. And I told him, Mr. President, this is a butcher of women and children. And he is using our country through your friendship to bring gold from Sudan, clean it in Nairobi, take it to the Middle East, use the funds to buy arms to go and kill people in the Sudan. I told him, Mr. President, I am a father. I am a Christian. Just the way we are killing our children here through abductions, I cannot be party to what is happening in the Sudan, and I cannot invite Hemeti here because he's coming here to clean his gold here, sell it in the Middle East, buy arms, go and kill children. I said, I will not. He said, you must. You are my deputy. This guy is my friend. We are doing biashara. Do you know by him not coming here what I'm going to lose? I said, Mr. President, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to invite that man here. So you invite him yourself or do whatever you want. He said, wewe Rigathi umekuwa mjeuri. I am instructing you to sign a letter here to invite a vice president of a country. You say you cannot. I said, I won't. This man has international sanctions against him. This is a man who is butchering women and children, Mr. President. I'm a Christian. I'm a father. I will not do it. I went. Later on, I learned my signature was forged to invite him. I went, I faced the president. I told him, if this man lands in this country on an invitation purportedly signed by me, I would disown him. So the visit was stood down.
I'm actually coming back with another video about the diplomatic blunders William Ruto has made so far, which Rigathi Gachagua is now putting out in this particular speech. Let us talk about the fertilizer donation. And I'm really disappointed, personally, with Rigathi Gachagua. Why? Rigathi Gachagua was the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. This issue of fertilizer began long time ago. He kept quiet. I remember at some point even Raila Odinga talked about it.
Mambo ya mbolea, atumerudisha bei ya mbolea chini. Mbolea mmepewa bure na serikali ya Urusi. 34,000 tons bure. Unaongeza mchanga inakuwa 100,000 tons. Unasema tumerudisha bei chini. Unarudisha bei chini. Hadi sasa tumetoa 7,000 imekuwa 2,500. Pasi hawa wakulima bure, Matio Tuma agawe kwa hawa wakulima. Hakuna haja ya wewe kuja na hiyo hapa chini na umepewa kama zawadi na unakuja kuuza hapa. Hiyo ni ungwana kweli? Hiyo ni ungwana kweli?
So let me ask you, assuming Rigathi Gachagua had not been impeached, do you think he would be talking about this fertilizer today? Because let's face it, the Russian government donated fertilizers free to this country. Those fertilizers were then sold to Kenyans. According to Rigathi, which is now shocking, William Ruto gave them to his friend, Devki, who then repackaged them, added some sand, then sold to farmers. And then William Ruto started bragging how they were offering Kenyans free fertilizer. That's a criminal offense. In fact, William Ruto should come out clearly and explain to Kenyans where the fertilizer donations from Russia and Algeria went to.
The Russian government gave us 40,000 metric tons of fertilizer.
The donation.
It was given to this man called Maisha Minerals by the president. And another 30,000 metric tons from Algeria given to the same man. They blended and sold it to government. A donation from Russia, a donation from Algeria was processed and sold to the Kenya government at the same price that we were buying fertilizer from. And I would like you, now that I've told you, go and ask the Ministry of Agriculture, the fertilizer that came from Russia as a donation, which farmers were given free of charge? The ones that came from Algeria, which farmers were given free of charge? The president gave it to Maisha Millers, Devki, his friend, blended, packed, and sold to the Kenya government. They pocketed billions of shillings. That is why we are saying what Muturi was saying, it is true. You know, the president would speak in cabinet. Hey, mimi sitaki ufisadi katika serikali yangu. Na mimi, I will be merciless to anybody who is caught up in corruption. You know, people will just look at him because all the procurement in this government is done by William Ruto. In fact, in cabinet, behind the scenes, because nobody could speak openly except me and maybe Muturi, the president in cabinet, behind him, is known as the principal procurement officer of the Kenya government.
The other thing which I don't want to talk much about is the issue of Farouk Kibet. And I want to agree to some extent, not fully, with Rigathi Gachagua on the issue of Farouk Kibet. Because let's face it, Farouk Kibet is very powerful around the president. That is the fact. And his words are normally low. What shocked Kenyans was the fact that anybody who wants to visit the president, you go through Kibet, unatoa kitu. It's common. I know even some, when Rigathi was the prime minister, there are some leaders, some people I know, who just organize meetings. Wewe unawapea pesa, Raila does not even receive those money.
Start beating it.
Probably before we come to that, you said that he said, I fight small people. I don't fight anybody. He says that I was fighting Farouk Kibet. Farouk Kibet is not a small man. He is a co-president in this country. Farouk Kibet runs the government. Everybody reports to him. The Inspector General of Police, the head of public service, cabinet ministers. William Ruto issues instructions to cabinet ministers through Farouk Kibet. Ministers tremble at his very sight. So, Farouk Kibet wanted to give instructions to Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua was elected by the people of Kenya alongside William Ruto. There is no way I would have allowed Farouk Kibet to give instructions to me. And let me tell you, Rogers, Farouk Kibet was trying to run my office, make appointments for people to come and see me. And initially, I thought it's okay, maybe that's how William Ruto wants us to work. Until I learned that Farouk Kibet was collecting money from people to come and see me, and I have nothing to give them in return. And I went and I told the president, Mr. President, I'm your principal assistant. Please, your personal assistant cannot give me instructions. And if you want to give me any instructions, you give them yourself and I obey them to the letter. But you cannot use your PA to order me around. And your PA is taking advantage to make money from people. And I told you, Mr. President, for your information, because I'm your advisor in this matter, I will be failing in my duty if I don't advise you and tell you what is happening.
Okay.
All the people Farouk Kibet is clearing to come and see you, he's collecting money. And there's hue and cry in town. And you, State House is getting very disrespected because it has become a center of corruption. All appointments of people coming to see you, Kibet is collecting money. And Mr. President, I think you need to check this. But if you want to continue with it, tell him to keep off my...
But importantly, for the first time, Rigathi Gachagua also revealed to us why William Ruto fired Justin Muturi. Because in his own account, this is what Ruto said about Muturi.
Bwana Muturi nilimpatia kazi kama mkuu wa sheria. Yeye mwenyewe alinieleza ya kwamba hii kazi kwa sababu hajakuwa practice kwa muda mrefu. Kwa sababu alitoka huko kwa kuwa magistrate, akaenda bunge, akakuwa mbunge, akakuwa speaker, akasema ile kazi kidogo inamlemea. Yeah? So nikakaa kidogo nikaona kweli amelemewa na ile kazi. Lakini makosa pengine ni yangu, nilimsindikizia. I persuaded him. Nikamwambia no, it's okay. Fanya tu hii kazi. Nafikiri haitakulemea. Lakini kwa muda nikaona kweli imemlemea. So nikasema okay, wacha nimbadilishie kazi. Nikampatia kazi ya waziri. Lakini hata wewe unajua. Sasa hapo katikati akagoma kuja katika baraza la mawaziri. Sasa mimi nataka nikuulize wewe, ni mimi nimvuta kazi ama ni yeye alijivuta kazi? Sasa wewe ni waziri, baraza la mawaziri umeigomea. What am I supposed to do?
But having listened to Rigathi Gachagua, I think Muturi was removed based on the fact that he refused to sign some criminal deals. There is this particular one, because he talked about several of them, but there's this particular one, which makes sense. The one on climate change. At some point, William Ruto was a real champion of climate change. And then Rigathi is now revealing to us that immediately Muturi refused to sign those deals. He asked us, have you seen William Ruto talking about planting those trees? It stopped.
A year ago, I stood before this assembly urging bold reforms of the UN system to tackle the rapidly evolving and increasingly complex global challenges. Today, that call is as urgent as it was then. The planet is heating up. Our climate is in crisis. Oceans are rising. Deserts are spreading, and conflict is engulfing the world. Millions are displaced, poor and without access to basic services. Unfortunately, our multilateral system has proven inadequate in addressing crises such as climate change, inequality, and debt. And it continues to falter in providing any, let alone timely solutions. Without immediate action, humanity will face an unprecedented global crisis. Today, we have no choice but to reject outdated systems and reimagine a framework of international cooperation that works for all 8 million of us in the planet. This means redesigning international financial system, strengthening partnership for common security, bridging the digital divide, and investing in human capacity, especially empowering women and youth.
The thing the president was asking me to sign is a fraud. It's $1 billion that is being brought to the country without going through the National Treasury, which is contrary to the PMF Act. This money is supposed to go to the Ministry of Environment without going through the National Treasury. I have done due diligence. The owners of that farm have criminal cases against them, and there are people who are involved in money laundering. And from my investigation, this is money laundering. I'm not going to do it. So I told the president what he has said, and he was very bitter. And you know what has happened? Since Justice Muturi refused that thing, the talk of climate change, for the last 1 year, you have not heard the president talk about climate change. That 1 year, 2023, he was talking about nothing else but climate change. It was a scheme for money laundering. We were talking about planting 15 billion trees. That deal for $1 billion US dollars was supposedly to plant 3 billion trees. These 15 billion trees was a fraud to bring in money in a country for money laundering. And since Justice Muturi, who in my view is a hero for this country, refused, you have never heard for the last 1 year the Minister for Environment or the President talk about the 15 billion trees, because it was scuttled by Justice Muturi. Again, the last one about Justice Muturi.
Which means someone wanted to launder money into Kenya, running in billions US dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be waiting for the explosive interview by none other than Muturi. Rigathi Gachagua should now take a break a bit, because I'm 100% sure that William Ruto has now learned that the more he tries to drag Rigathi Gachagua into the mud, is the more Rigathi Gachagua is also dragging him into the mud. Ladies and gentlemen, do you think William Ruto will be able to get out of the mud? I don't think so. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.